What's up, everybody? Just real quick before we start the show, just want to tell you how you can come support us. You can go to rockfin.com/Truthzilla. You can find all of our episodes for free, plus some bonus episodes. Plus, get a monthly subscription. You can get access to all the content creators on the site.
Scott, don't we have a Patreon now, too?
Yes, and we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Truthzilla. So we're going to be dropping premium content in both places, so come check us out there. Also, truthzilla.org/shirts. Get yourself a rockin' Truthzilla shirt today.
We got some new shirt ideas, too.
Yeah, we got some new shirt ideas. The ones I've got, though, are probably going to get us kicked off. So I'm kind of like,
kicked off anyways. We're getting kicked off anyways.
Yeah, it's a little racy. Do it. But yeah. So
all right, guys, welcome to the show.
Bam, bam.
Welcome to Truthzilla. I am Megan, sitting here with Scott and Ed. This week's guest is the author of Esoteric Hollywood, Parts 1 and 2, the man behind Hollywood Decoded on the Gaia Network, frequent guest host on The Alex Jones Show, and one of the most prolific deep divers out there. You can find his podcast and content channels everywhere under the name Jay's Analysis and at jaysanalysis.com. Jay Dyer, welcome to the show.
What's up? Thank you. Glad to be here. It's an honor.
Man, it really is an honor, man. I've been following your work for a while. Always an exciting deep dive every time on the Alex Jones Show. I try to keep track on what he's got going on. Your perspective is just so unique. I've never, there's not too many people out there that take it the way that you take it. You know what I mean? You take it all the way back and tie it all the way to what's going on today, Yeah. And through that. And I think that there's so much value in that, because that is how we can kind of read the tea leaves and see what's going to happen, and, they tell us what they're doing. That's part of their philosophy, their religion, if you will. Like, they have to tell us what's going on. So, obviously, the main instrument of that, I would say, has been Hollywood for forever, right? And there's so many things that, we've been chatting about, like, gosh, we got to talk about this and talk about that. And it's like super exciting. But, the thing that I was kind of it's been on my mind is like, okay, so Hollywood is basically falling apart. It's all going away. This has been their main instrument of not only predictive programming, but, brainwashing. And if that's going away, what does that tell us? Does that mean that they're done with it? It served its purpose? Is there going to be another iteration, or what's going on?
Well, the simple answer to that is that it's been supplanted by streaming services. So the studio system doesn't really matter anymore. It's more, moving to just online streaming. And I kind of think that that's prepping us for the next phase, which would be gaming. And like the world of gaming will probably merge with entertainment such that it almost won't be anything like the stuff that we have today. So probably the next 20, 30 years will be moving towards matrix level stuff of like, computer mind brain or computer brain interface type stuff. So that's probably where we're going. And yeah, Hollywood has served its purpose to, successfully propagandize the country to be unrecognizable to what it was 30, 40 years ago.
Absolutely. So I know one of the main highlights you touch on, we were talking about this, Ed, you want to, I thought you had it. But like Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick, right? Yeah. Such an influential person and so much mystique and mystery around it. Like, was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy? Like, what do you think? What would you?
Well, I don't, it's hard to say in terms of like casting, those kind of broad nets about somebody who, had a complex life, and he probably had phases and times where he was, trying to sincerely be an artist and get his message out. And then there were probably times where he felt like he had to compromise to use the Zeiss lens and to be able to film stuff, with NASA, with the Air Force assistance. So all of that went down in his life. And I think that he's just a complex character who was a lot of different things. And so is he a propagandist? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? He's probably all of the above in some way. I know that's probably a kind of a shitty answer, but no, I mean, that's really what I think is going on with Kubrick. So he probably was at some of those big Eyes Wide Shut parties and he saw it, and he, maybe he was tempted with it, or he realized that, even he could only get to certain, strata within the power structure. And he realized there was people, way above him, kind of like the Bill Hartford character in Eyes Wide Shut. He realizes that there's power structures above him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so with the Eyes Wide Shut, I know you talk about that one a lot. So what is the significance? I know I took a class in college, German folklore and fairy tales, and that's based off 1926. I forget, was it Dreams? What's the significance? Yeah, the novella. Now, is that tied into it, or what was this kind of more his own story related to like what's going on with Hollywood at the time, or is this kind of what's the relation to the original novel it's based on?
Well, the original novel is a loose. It's like a story of a doctor who, kind of runs in with this higher level group of people. And it has all of these kind of surrealist elements. And I think it's magical realism if you're looking for the literary genre. If I recall, it's been many years since I looked at that, but I think that's what it is. And so Kubrick's just kind of using that as a rough outline for the story. And yes, updating it to interject these elements of present day Hollywood. And I think it's the title of the movie itself kind of gives it away, where the title tells you that it's about the fact that the majority of people in the world, their eyes are wide shut to the way the world really works. And the irony is that nowadays, post Franklin cover up, post Epstein, post all of this big high level stuff, and I just learned this literally this week. I didn't even know this. I'm doing a series on the history of organized crime in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And at the same time, I'm also studying again the history of serial killers, which I had done a lot of research on that about 5 years ago. I'm dipping back into that, and I'm noticing a lot of crossovers in those worlds. And one example is that there was an Epstein operation running in the 70s. In Michigan. It's called the North Fox Island case. And literally a guy was doing all the Epstein stuff, well, actually it's a connected group of people tied into a lot of high level executives, and it was human trafficking, and it was 100% Epstein operation prior to Epstein. So point being is that there have been tons of cases of this going on for a long time. And if you go back to the 70s and you watch all these news clips of people finding out about this case, this event, a lot of the human trafficking and serial killer cases, which are connected, by the way, in the 70s, it was just so outlandish. People couldn't believe that, right? Because there was still this kind of remnant of the innocence of America still lingering from the 50s. And I think that what Kubrick, like many people who maybe ran in the circles of the elites, like they saw this other world, this underworld, that was very real in Western society, and I'm sure in global, the elites in other countries are into the same sick stuff. So how do you can't talk about it. You can't go to the police. You can't go to, you could write a fiction story, or you could, try to make a movie. And I think that's what he did. It could have gotten him in trouble. And this is a pretty revelatory film in terms of, what's in Eyes Wide Shut, who it's calling out. So it's pretty amazing in that, it's basically telling us that the Epstein stuff's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly. So just kind of an overall question. Now in our show, we have not touched a lot on like Hollywood, and we're not as knowledgeable probably, as yourself and whatnot, but just kind of for our listeners and just kind of as a parent of young children, I would ask, I know like Disney, I know Walt Disney, there's a lot of, he's dirty, right? We that's the easy way of saying it. And there's a lot of predictive programming, going on in Disney. And, what if as a parent of young children, what would you be comfortable exposing your kids to? And also, kind of maybe a little overview of like what these big companies are doing, your Netflix, these new streaming services, what they're inputting into our children,
It's very sophisticated form of toxic culture. So basically, entities like Disney have always been connected to the CIA, high-level intelligence stuff. They've always been connected to huge corporations like Siemens, the Pentagon. From the very get-go, they had that interconnectedness, and it was always there to do social engineering. So people don't understand that, like, Disney maybe 50 years ago wasn't as degenerate or weird. And I'm not saying everybody's bad or everybody's involved in something, but what it's doing to the culture and society, it definitely gets worse over time. And Walt was working with the military. He filmed a lot of propaganda stuff. So you already know from the outset, this is this is at the behest of the CIA and the intelligence agencies to promote basically warfare, right? So in the early phases, Disney was all about promoting America in terms of war, right? And the World War II era, you can find cartoons of Donald Duck about how virtuous it is to pay your taxes, right? So
sure,
and how you need to be recruited, go into the military, all this kind of stuff. That's been there for forever. But then as we got up into 80s and 90s, stories started coming out about darker, deeper, creepy stuff with a lot of the pop stars, a lot of the people who went up through the Disney ladder, the Britney Spearses, the Justin Timberlakes, the Christina Aguilera's, these types. Like, there seemed to be this pattern of this, just really something is wrong with these people, or something has happened to them, probably abuse. I don't know in every case, but that seemed to be an emergent pattern that people were picking up on and noticing. And with Disney, I think that what you're getting, especially now, is just more and more phases of mind control, of downloading the latest social engineering update into your kids. So no, if I had kids, which I just got married, I don't have kids yet, but if I did have kids, I would try to keep them away from that stuff until they're old enough, right, to kind of know and to make those kinds of decisions for their life and have a sense of, right and wrong. If it's a kid, you're so impressionable when you're a kid, like you're absorbing everything like a sponge, and all that stuff stays with you. That's why the elite so often try to traumatize kids, because they know that the kid's going to be dealing with that. They're going to be programmed in some sense, traumatized for the rest of their life, right? So that's why it's so important. That's why you have to, guard what your kids are exposed to. Obviously, you can't guard them from everything, but I definitely wouldn't let them be raised on Disney. No,
absolutely not. Well,
it kind of goes into the question of the masks on the kids too, right now, right? Like that's the trauma they're forcing on all of them, and yeah, that'll affect them for the rest of their lives. I've never let my kids wear a mask.
This is just one constant re-traumatization after another, man. Like ever since like 9/11, man, like that was the big one that kind of just shook everybody. It took me, like, I was such a stupor after that for many, many years. God, it wasn't even like 2010 until I was like, wait a minute, someone pointed some things out to me. But up until then, I was like, yeah, they hate our freedom. We got to go. You know what I mean? Like, I was on that, like,
yeah, I mean, and 9/11 was a big catalyst for me. I was, about 17, 18, somewhere in there around the time that happened. And then, immediately after that, I started kind of questioning things on a bigger scale. And oddly enough, diving back into the serial killers, I more and more have come to believe, and I'm finding actual, substantial evidence that a lot of the serial killers have connections between themselves and other serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of them, literally almost all of the famous American serial killers have periods of serving in the U.S. military. I come from a military family. My dad, uncles, everybody was. I'm not saying everybody in the military is bad. I'm just saying that this is just a feature that we've seen amongst the serial killers. And I bring them up because you mentioned 9/11 as a traumatizing event. That's what serial killers were before 9/11, right? So the whole the 70s phase of the serial killers up into the 80s.
Wow. And
there were even some really famous ones in the 90s as well. Some cult serial killings like the Order of the Solar Temple, Heaven's Gate. I really think a lot of these things, Jonestown, these were also, in many cases, not every case, can't prove it, but I think in many cases, pretty well connected guilds of probably contract killers. So a lot of people don't know that, but if you read Dave McGowan's book, he's the first person to really set forth this thesis in Program to Kill. And the basis for this is the actual program known as the Phoenix program, which the CIA had a program to create serial killers in the Vietnam War. I think it was Colby came up with this idea to terrorize the or the Viet Cong, excuse me. So I'm not saying that makes the communism good and the CIA bad. I'm not picking sides. I think both sides are bad. But the point is that in this situation, you have the stated intent plan to create, guilds of serial killers to traumatize people. And what happens when all these guys come back to America after their service? I was just reading, I literally just dug up a thing where Berkowitz was blasted on LSD his entire time of being in the military. I didn't even know that. Like, I've been reading about Berkowitz and this stuff, and I just found this old news clipping where which to me suggests that he was doing like MK Ultra related stuff, right?
Yeah.
We know that. Did you know Whitey Bulger, the famous mobster, was part of MK Ultra?
No, didn't know that.
That's verified. Yes. The Theodore Ted Kaczynski, part of MK Ultra, right?
Yep.
So we're starting to notice a pattern of these famous killers, right? These patterns are there. I think they're significant. Now, why do I bring that up? It's traumatization. It's trauma, right? The serial killer phenomenon that was traumatizing America at a certain time for certain things, alienating people. And so when we get into the big terror stuff, right? If you doubt that the 9 event would be, organized and engineered by people in our establishment, then just think about the fact that, well, if they're willing to do the Epstein type stuff, don't you think they're willing to do that kind of stuff? Absolutely. And then it leads me to think just all the objections that people have, they're just so dumb, right? Like they're so weak. They're weak sauce, dude. I mean, does anybody know about Murder Inc.? I'm not talking about you guys. I'm about the audience, right? Yeah. I've just been reading about Murder Inc. There was a guild of 250 killers that the mafia had access. They could call at any time a whole guild of serial killers. Yeah. So is it unreasonable to think that Uncle Sam had his own guild of serial killers that he could call upon if he needed to? I mean, I don't think that's far-fetched. In fact, I just dug up a thing where it was talking about Dahmer. It was, I think it was a cable. It looks like, I mean, it's hard. I can't tell what it is. It's a clipping of it. It looks like an embassy cable where they were talking about that the base that Dahmer was stationed at in Germany. Yes, Dahmer was in the military. Wow. He was a suspect in 5 women being murdered near his German base. So again, and the reason that the cable says he wasn't arrested is that he was directly under the command of a high-level military official, and this got squashed. So this is something we continually see too, that a lot of these serial killers seem to have aid from people very high up. This is how they're able to get away with doing this for so many years. In many cases, it seems to be that police departments are helping to cover it up and are involved as well. Not everybody, obviously, but higher level police people. Anyway, point being, it's just simply that, like, if that stuff is the case, then and if 9/11, right? If we are woke to all that stuff, it really starts to make you wonder about a lot of these things, right? Like maybe our government is way more corrupt than we thought for way longer than we thought.
Oh, absolutely. And, so that leads me to believe, like, okay, so I know like the podcast landscape is just replete of just like serial killer shows, true crime shows. Right. And I don't really listen to a whole lot of that. So maybe I'm completely out of the loop, but when was the last, are there serial killers nowadays? Has there been a prolific serial killer in the last decade?
Yeah, that's a good question. See,
9/11?
That's something Dave noticed, who wrote 2 really good books that are kind of in the vein of my book, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. I highly recommend Dave's book on Lord. But then his other book was about the serial killers and MK Ultra, called Program to Kill. And your point was something he noticed. He said, wait a minute, where did all the serial killers go? Right? Like, I thought this was this, like, wait, like they're everywhere, right? We're supposed to think in the 80s and 90s, oh, there's serial killers everywhere, right? And there's dozens, there's like a whole stable of them, right? There's like 30, 40 of them. Where are they now? The last I recall was Virginia Tech, right? I mean, I think he's classed as a serial killer, which there's some really weird stuff with Cho Sung-Hui too, but
totally. Well, now it's more like mass shooters, right? Wouldn't that be
exactly
mass shooters?
Right. So this
is
now
where
it transitions to that. Yeah. So Breivik, right? He's a mass shooter who had all these connections to secret societies, thought he was a Templar, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, you're absolutely right that it seems like if there is an overarching plan for these different types of psychological operations, if in fact that's what they are, they seem to come in phases, like a couple decades of serial killers, a couple decades of cults, a couple decades of mass shooters and terror. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Now I've never even thought of it that way. That's phenomenal.
Can I add to, by the way, I agree with you that I'm not really into true crime, and I had no intention of getting into all the true crime podcasts. It was just that studying MK Ultra, mind control, intelligence operations kind of inadvertently led me to reading about organized crime and reading about some of those or listening to some of those shows and books about serial killers and that element. But typically I don't really care about true crime.
Yeah, for sure. I remember what I was going to say. So I know like one of the things that fascinates me, secret societies, I've been reading Secret Teachings of All Ages and just, going into, actually I'm reading a book on the Templars right now, actually. And but like you spoke how you're diving into the mafia, like what preeminent, like I think not a lot of people like make that connection. Like that is like the penultimate like secret society, right? And then can you trace that lineage back to some of like the more earlier like mystery schools? Is there any like overlap there, or how did that come to be?
In terms of the modern Sicilian mafia, the origins go back. Well, they go back really far. You could go back to like the Middle Ages, and in the Middle Ages, the mafiosi were like just patriots and people interested in kind of local militia self-defense. So there wasn't anything nefarious about that. But as we get up into the Italian Revolution and unification under a guy named Garibaldi, he's the famous guy who unified Italy, right, under a kingdom. This is like late 1800s. Well, he was a high-level Mason, and he was very influenced by the guy who, and I'm not making this up, is pretty universally known to be kind of like the illuminist of the time, Giuseppe Mazzini. So Mazzini is comparable to somebody like Albert Pike or Manly P. Hall. And so Mazzini was a pretty radical kind of revolutionary communist type agitator guy, but he was also a nationalist. And so that's the influence that he had on Garibaldi, was that kind of revolutionary nationalism. And Garibaldi is who recruited a lot of people in crime syndicates, thieves, brigands, and local patriots, you could say, to all kind of be his soldiers. And that's where the Masonic element comes in, is that a lot of the ritual elements that would go into the Sicilian mafia's omerta, the oath ritual and all that, is borrowed from Freemasonry through that lineage, basically. So that's how there is a connection. That doesn't mean that every person in the mafia is a Mason. I'm just saying there's overlap there with the origins of the Sicilian mafia in Italy. And that's how there's similar rituals and initiation there. But yeah, I would say that ultimately the way the Sicilian mafia works in the US is that it does function like a secret society.
Yeah, definitely. So I was listening to presentation you were doing. I was re-listening to it on your channel earlier, and I was talking about, how, I mean, as we all know, like, so the secret society concept is not new, right? This is something that has been from the beginning of time, right? There always has to be like this power differential, right? To have an initiatory class that protects certain knowledge from the profane, right? That's always just been, and whereas back in the day, it used to be just simple like numbers and mathematics, right? And then just certain symbolism, right? And then it's something they guarded, you know what I mean? Whereas, and then eventually it's, and maybe it wasn't always nefarious, maybe necessarily, but now it seems to have evolved from that. And I really loved your analysis on like the Plato's Republic into what we're seeing today, like as far as just all the technocracy, the transhumanism. Like I really thought that was such a valid point. I was wondering if you can maybe touch on that.
Yeah, Plato has this idea, what's called the noble lie, which is that society can't be governed properly without the state basically creating a kind of a fake religion and running and controlling that religion. And so he says, we'll just call it it's just called the noble lie. And it's just, there's no other option here, right? Because only the elite at the top are going to be able to understand that the secrets and the mysteries are not proper to everyone, right? So there's this very elitist kind of secret society element to Plato. Plato was influenced by Pythagoreanism and ancient Egyptian philosophy and all that. So yes, that's definitely there. And that's why Plato is always influential on revolutionaries, because the Republic is actually the first kind of communist treatise. It's actually, a lot of people don't know that it teaches communism. And this is why communists always appeal back to Plato. They're always idealistic revolutionaries, because Plato's system is idealistic. It's based on what is supposed to be, or to bring a utopia, the ideal republic. And this is why, right, what was the Soviet Union? The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. What's America, right? It's a republic. So whether it's communism, whether it's American Revolutionary Founding Fathers, everybody has influence back to Plato. And I'm not saying it's totally communism. Obviously, there's different elements in there, but Plato was definitely a top-down control kind of guy, right? I mean, he thinks that basically society should be run like a math problem. So he's kind of the original technocrat, right? Everything should be in its place. Everything should be formal because it's governed by the ideal forms. And so it's quite literally should be structured literally like a math problem or geometry. It's a very quantified view. And although Plato didn't obviously know about computers or anything like that, the idea of computers running society and a technocratic model is totally 100% has its origins in Plato. So yeah, that's the danger here though, is that of course the world isn't ideal. It doesn't always match up to the abstract or to geometric forms or to, right? I mean, we know numbers have some role to play in this world, but we can't make everything identical to numbers. It's just a kind of a preposterous idea. And this is why so many, you know, revolutionary philosophies fail, why communism always fails, is that you can't force this world to be exactly like some ideal, right? It just doesn't work that way. Humans are not just beings that are only motivated by one type of thing, right? Like in communism, it's, we're all motivated by our class struggle, right? So if we could just eliminate private property, well, then nobody would be greedy anymore. And we wouldn't have, right? This is just ridiculous, right? But that's the ideal that they try to squish the world into, and that's why it always fails. So technocracy is another version of that. Let's make everything, you know, computerized, and everything will be run by AI and it'll be perfect. And then we'll eliminate human error and human weakness. And it's tyrannical because it doesn't, you can't, it's just self-refuting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been asking a few guests this question. I have a couple ideas, but what do you think it was about this time last year that made them just flip the switch and be like, okay, now's the time, and rolled all these agendas out and just so dramatically changed? Is it something, did something shift? Has something changed on their end? Do they know something we don't know? Why all of a sudden? Why did they turn the switch on?
Personally, I don't think it was a flip the switch, roll all this out at once. I think this was, of course, planned out way long ago. In fact, we just did some analyses of a couple writings and books from the global elite back to the 80s that talked about all the stuff that we're seeing rolled out now. So one of those is the book Millennium, which has writings from Timothy Leary, Willis Harman, some of the other technocrats, and then there's another book by Fritjof Capra, who's one of these eco-maniac technocrat guys, called Turning Point. And then in both of those books, they said that we need the crisis to come eventually that will allow us to use the medical realm to roll out the tyranny. Everybody, I'm sure you guys are familiar with, you know, Operation Lockstep from Rockefeller Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
So those kind of, to me, suggest that they maybe have, you know, like multiple cards in their hand that they could play at any time. And it's kind of like the Illuminati card game, right? Like if something occurs, right? Oh, now it's time to play this card, right? So I think they had this card ready to go. And another way I know that is that it might be hard to find now, but about a year ago, maybe back in March of last year, maybe into April, World Economic Forum had this thing you could sign up for, which was a by email thing that you had to access privately, that you could, it wasn't secret. It was for anybody that gave their email, but you could access this page that was their layout of what the plan for all of society is. And it literally has every area of life like laid out and planned out to the nth degree, right? Which they wouldn't even have the website and all those plans ready if this wasn't planned a long time ago, right? So to me, all of those things suggest that, that this was definitely a crucial year, probably for a lot of different reasons, probably for, you know, I'm not saying that Trump was perfect, but there was obviously some road bumps, right? That Trump was not allowing this plan to, you know, advance as quick as possible.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you that this plan had always been in motion. It's been in motion for a long time, but to me, it just seemed like something maybe was unlocked on their end. And they
that's
like,
true.
all right,
In
let's
2020,
roll.
there was definitely some big shit rolled out for sure.
Yeah. So my whole thinking was like, and I've said this before on the show, so I apologize everybody, but like my thinking was like, one, either they've figured out AI, you know, I mean, to me, it seems like they've made it very, very clear that we are non-essential anymore. And they've, you know, they've needed us up until now. they've needed us for our blood and our sweat and our labor, the batteries, the batteries in the matrix. That's been us. And it just seemed like they kind of showed their hand a little bit in that, we are non-essential. We don't need you to work anymore. That's fine. Go sit at home. They just printing trillions of dollars a day. It's like they've shown like money is what it is. Like we know what it is. Like it's useless. And then they're like, yeah, whatever. We know money's useless. We don't care. Like whatever. So they've really demonstrated that they're done with us. They're done with us. And so that's the frightening piece that was like, man, so what happened? What changed? And I was like having a conversation with a friend, and it was like, well, maybe they like figured out like, artificial general AI, like full AI that's coming fully online, and they're keeping it contained. And then he said, and he's kind of a blue pill guy, and I was kind of surprised. He said, maybe they figured out the secrets of immortality. And I was like, and I was like, oh shit. Cause that's what it's been all about this whole time anyway. Right. So I don't know.
Well, that's definitely the quest. I mean, that's the, quest of the Philosopher's Stone, is to figure out the secrets of immortality, which personally, no, I don't think that they will find that through technology. That's my opinion. But I do think that it's very plausible that the technology has advanced to the degree that they think that, yes, they could roll out the global government now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened for sure. Beyond that, I don't know. But if you read books like Annie Jacobson's book on the history of DARPA, she covers like the whole point about the AI and where they wanted to get it, right, to where they could roll it out. And I think that there's still a lot of infrastructure that has to kind of go into place before the full on straight up technocratic top down AI system is rolled out in terms of like actually up and running. But we're already seeing that infrastructure be put in place now. In one of the global elites books, Jacques Attali, he says 2050 is the year when it's all full up and running.
Wow.
So they have these kind of key years like 2020, 2030, 2050. So the next big key crucial year for the next phase is 2030, and then 2050 is when it's all supposed to be fully in place. And he says by then it's like you have no rights. Like you're totally controlled. You live in a pod. And they'll decide when you live and die. You don't get access to anything in the external world except what the robot that basically runs your life allows you to have access to.
Oh man,
you say that's Endgame?
No, that's in but that's in Jacques Attali's book, Brief History of the Future. Sure. And I mean, Attali's no small player. He's the Kissinger of France. He's definitely part of the inner group of the elite. He wrote that book in 2006, and he said that all the stuff he says that would be expected by 2020, it's all here. So you can be rest assured that he's telling what's the plan.
Okay.
He said by 2020, everybody be watching live streams on YouTube.
Wow.
He said that in 2006. So yeah.
Wow. So I got to ask, what's the solution? That's a preposterous question, but how do we keep our sanity through this? I know you're a man of strong faith, and like, how do you keep your sanity diving into these topics, and specifically, or do you see a way out? Well, I mean, yeah, from my vantage point, the Bible does come into play here, because if we look at things like the book of Revelation, although I'm not saying necessarily that we're in the last times, or I know that we're in the end times, I don't make that claim. I'm just saying that the stuff that the book of Revelation talks about the way that this kind of evil spirit that kind of runs this fallen world, he's always trying to build Babel. He's always trying to build this kind of a thing. To me, that speaks to the veracity of the Bible. So I think that the principle of the book of Revelation about how evil always tries to create this kind of global control structure, to me, speaks to its truthfulness. So I know that, if you believe the Bible, then this system is destined to fall. It's not going to, it might be bad for a while, but it's not going to last for forever. So that I take hope in. I also think that the system, just in the way it's structured and what it says about humanity in itself, is kind of self-destructive. And so I think just that inherent eating itself nature that it has is also a big problem, because I think that it can cause itself to fall apart. Yeah, definitely. We spend so much time talking about the darkness and the evil and all that stuff. And I think, we don't spend enough time focusing on, is there hope? How is there hope? And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, we may have to get to such a dark place before people realize, wait a minute, this is not.
Yeah, certainly.
And you're absolutely right, because if you look at, famous tyrannical regimes in history, that's what happens. Like it just has to reach like an apex before it's so bad, so ridiculous, so absurd, and then it just falls apart, right? I mean, you see that with Soviet communism, right? Like it just kind of reached this apex, and then it was just the lies that were needed to prop up the whole system were so absurd that it just collapsed.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been saying this whole time. Like from day one, it's like, it's never been about the mask. Like, dude, if you want to wear a mask, go wear a mask. That's fine. But you know, you don't get the right to tell me to wear the mask. And I can see where this is going. Like, we know where this is headed. We've seen it happen in history before. We know exactly where this is going. And so by me having such a huge problem fundamentally on such a spiritual level with the masks has nothing to do with the mask. It's because I know what's going to happen. And it's like, you guys, we can end this right now today. We don't have to wait until, you know, there's mass genocide and all these people are cheering it on while it happens, man. And that's the scariest part. Like, how did we get to this place? Like, oh man.
I forgot that. I mean, I put a decent amount of time into studying geopolitics, geopolitical events, big events, and psychological warfare, etc., for many, many years. And I had totally forgotten that at Abu Ghraib, they made people wear face masks. Yeah. And my buddy Tristan sent me that. He's like, "Did you remember that Abu Ghraib, part of the kind of torture process was that they made everybody wear masks 24/7?" I was like, "Oh, I totally forgot that." So that tells you that it's an actual dehumanizing thing.
100%. Yeah, we just did a whole analysis on the 10 stages of genocide. I don't know, it's Dr. Stanton, and how each one of them, the Armenian genocide, the Holocaust, Rwanda, like it follows a very specific 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you extrapolate what's going on in our society, we're literally at stage 8. Like literally. It's insane, like, which is right. And then the extermination portion is the 9th stage. And so, wow, that's the scariest part. And then the 10th is the denial, which always happens afterwards, apparently. Right. So, and so when you look at it, like first, it's dehumanization. Dehumanization is 4th, I think. And then you have the polarization, right? You have the complete polarization where you have whatever it is, either on ethnic lines, liberal, conservative, and it's just like, we're past that. And then you have the preparation where you set all the pieces in place. You move the chessboard until you're one move away from checkmate. And then, and that's where we're at. Like, I think the 8th is the preparation, and you got your camps and you got your, the meat. Oh, and then on all the propaganda, obviously is all a part of that too. And saying like people who are free thinkers, we are all of a sudden in this category where it's like we're QAnon. Yeah, we're like QAnon. Yeah. It's just like, like somehow we've been backed into this corner where we are the enemy, and it's just so crazy, man. I don't. Sad.
Yeah. What's weird to me is that I remember I got into a lot of alternative media, conspiracy, quote unquote, stuff in about 2003. And that was the first time that I'd listened. I mean, I kind of knew some of it earlier than that, but that was the first time I listened to Alex Jones. In 2003. I got into the, secret society, Skull and Bones, Templar type stuff, and looking into all the, general kind of conspiracy stuff. And I remember that was right around the time 2004 and 5 that prepper stuff first started kind of getting popular. And there would be, radio hosts talking about how we're going to be put in FEMA camps and all that. And, we're going to have a societal collapse. And at that time, it was like, yeah, oh man, this is coming, it's coming. And then there was this, it was many, many, many years later, right? And then we kind of had this period of Trump where people thought, oh, we're going to make it, right? We're going to save America and this kind of stuff. And everybody forgot that like civilizational collapse, right? Like prepper stuff. And now it's like, whoa, actually we could easily just like go right back into that, prepper phase type stuff, which I'm not knocking preppers. I'm just saying that everybody kind of forgot about the mid 2000s patriot, prepper stuff that was really, really big for a while. If you remember back in 2005, 6, 7, everybody was right when Obama got elected. People were really, really hyped up on being preppers, and people thought, oh, this is the end of America. And I mean, in ways it was just maybe a little slower than we thought. And then now it seems to just stuff's really ramping up.
Yeah, it's insane, man. I don't know. Like we're in Oregon, which God, I don't even know how much longer we're gonna be able to stay here. Like we were just talking about before the show, like it may come to a point here very, very soon where it's like, this is not a place that we can live anymore. And it was interesting too. I know I saw you spoke to Chris Milligan at Trine Day recently. Like he's just right up the road. It's hilarious. So we're in Eugene. He's just like maybe half an hour north of us. So that's cool. But yeah, man, like I don't even know. You've got states like Texas and Mississippi, you know, just saying, nope, that's it. We're done. We're not playing this game anymore. Which initially on its face, like sounds like wonderful. I love that, you know, but I hear a lot of rumblings too. Like, hold on. Like this is too good to be true. What are your thoughts
Like
on
they're
all
going to
that?
make an example
Yeah.
of them reopening. Like
Yeah.
that was part of the
Could be.
agenda
I
all
mean,
along.
I fully expect that, you know, Bill Gates and other people have said that that there's viruses to come, right?
Mhm.
And I kind of think this was a test run, and then what they'll just say, oh, by the way, it's the new strain, it's COVID-25.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I don't, they invested a lot in this. I don't expect COVID to go away. And we've been having this debate. It's like, oh, finally we're free. I'm like, no, we're not free.
No.
I mean, they've said the masks are never going away. Right? I mean, this isn't going away.
No, absolutely.
Until we just stop. Right.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Like you could look at indicators like InQtel. Like if you go to their website, you know, they've got this program called Be Next, which is the COVID response. You know, and they're funding all these up and coming like companies for the intelligence agency purposes, right? And the Be Next project is headed up by Tara O'Toole, right? She's our good friend from Event 201, Dark Winter, all that. And if you look at some of these projects that they have, and it's so like diabolical. Like it's this is what the intelligence agencies are pouring every single drop into is the COVID response and the you know the biosecurity state, basically track and trace. Like it's just
exactly
insane.
No, that's they didn't do that for no reason, for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's for. And by the way, did you guys see that terrible Michael Bay movie?
No, I've been holding
watched
off.
it.
Which one?
So I mean, it's instructive because that's I mean, it's not going to be like millions of people dead everywhere from some stupid COVID cold virus, but in that it's COVID-24, COVID-25, right?
Yeah.
And they've got all the lockdowns. It's like the next level of lockdown.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Here's one I stumbled across. Have you ever seen the movies from 2013? It's called The Conspiracy. You ever seen that one?
You're talking about the two guys that are trying to, I've
Make the documentary film.
Movie, yeah.
Oh, I love that, dude. I love that one. I just stumbled across that recently. So everybody out there, check that movie out. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a really good conspiracy movie. There's quite a few decent quote conspiracy themed movies like that. Have you ever seen Kill List?
No. Oh.
Yeah. So if you like Eyes Wide Shut, it's in the vein of that. It's pretty brutal. It's a pretty dark film. I'm not recommending it for if your kids are in the room, but
sure.
It was a decent independent UK film, but the theme is very clearly related to the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Definitely
Awesome.
check it out. I guess I would ask just you know, as a man of God, do you see you know, the mark of the beast in this vaccine or whatever? You know, they're talking about putting the what is it, the needles, the Bill Gates.
Yeah. Well, it tells you that you've had the shot or not, whatever that is, whatever you call that. The little.
No, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. It's definitely possible that something like that could come in our lifetime. But I don't typically go into speculating about that. I mean, I don't want that. So, I don't know if it's the mark of the beast or not.
Yeah.
Well, even couldn't an argument be made that just the masks themselves, right? In order to have some sort of like marking to do any sort of commerce, right? You know, like that's
I mean,
it's incrementally.
I mean, at the least, they're kind of predecessors to whatever will come down the road. Yeah.
Sure. Just a little incremental, like the totalitarian tiptoe, as they say, right?
Right.
Man, do we have any hope, Jay? Is there any hope?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, like, so, you know, I have a religious theological paradigm that kind of dictates the way I view the future. So I don't think that, you know, there's any human hope. There's no political hope, but I do, you know, believe in God. So in that sense, I would say, yeah. But in a practical daily sense, I mean, I think that the best thing that we can do is try to be self-sufficient if you can. Try not to live in, you know, big giant mega cities. Those are going to be bad news if society collapses. Try to be, you know, in the country, try to have land, try to, again, be self-sufficient in the sense of not being dependent on Amazon, not being dependent upon big chains and box stores. All that kind of stuff is very crucial, especially into where we're going, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years. I think having crypto is good. Bitcoin's good. Gold is good. Self-defense is good. Like all those things are the things I would recommend.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Freedom Cells movement at all? So Freedom Cells, it's Derek Bros, John Bush. It's a really awesome little deal. So freedomcells.org, and basically you just go and you find one in your area, and then people have like local meetups, just get to know like other like-minded, like freedom people. And so we noticed there was not one in our area. So we started one, and it has grown into like this collective of just like, we've got all these people that are coming together. In fact, we have meetups every other weekend. We actually I just got keys to a new facility to hold them at today. And we meet indoors, no masks. Everybody's on the same level, and they all come from huge different backgrounds. And ours kind of spawned off of the one up in Portland. And so the idea is everyone comes, and there's like certain people have certain specialties. There's a very like there's a collection of them that have, they're very into cryptocurrency. They're experts in that realm. And so they've been kind of teaching me. I've been like sitting down and learning from them. You've got people that are into farming, gardening, food preservation, and it's just all these people have these skills, and we all come together, and then it's like a skill sharing / just building community. And there's some people are moving towards like living off grid, like moving off grid.
Right.
There's people that are like doctors and pilots. Like apparently there's a pilot in the Southern Oregon one. It's like, I don't know. To me, that seems like part of the solution there, and it's almost like a way for us to
building the underground railroad.
An underground railroad. Like we're trying to exist outside of the matrix while still having to live in the matrix type of thing. So it's been a pretty powerful.
A lot of the people in my circles, people are into homesteading. A lot of people doing that kind of stuff. So, I don't personally do that, but I do live in the country. Yeah. So I'm not anywhere near a big city. So, that's great. I didn't know about that. Sounds cool.
Yeah, check out Freedom Cells, man. It's been a pretty powerful experience, and if nothing else, like a lot of these people, it's the first time they've been in a room with somebody without a mask or just anybody in a year. Yeah. And it's a pretty powerful thing to see, watch, and witness, and then we've come together on all sorts of things, and it's just like, we're building this community. And who knew, and it's so crazy that in and of itself is such a criminal thing, dude. Like this is like the most awful thing you could possibly do, is just sitting in a room together, like having a potluck and just like smiling and laughing together. Like
well, in our first meeting too, we went to this restaurant that's been staying open throughout the lockdown when against the mandates
and Oregon lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's
So and we get in there and they set the alarm off. And so the alarm's blaring, and there's all these people. We have the blinds down. I think the cops are. I feel like we're having like this undercover meeting, and
it's crazy, man. So anyway, cool.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, Jay. Any final thoughts? Then I guess we'll just wrap it up.
No, thanks for having me on. It was really cool. If anybody wants to get into my material, like I said, right now I'm covering the history of the mafia in the U.S. I'm on the 3rd or 4th lecture in that series, kind of like the Tragic Hope series where we went through the whole book. I'm going through Selwyn Robb's book on the history of the 5 families, and then next up I'll be doing a series on the serial killers. Not your typical true crime stuff. Like we're going to be looking at MK Ultra and the patterns and the different serial killers and how they seem to be connected in unknown and odd ways. And then if you want my books, you can get Esoteric Hollywood 1 and 2 at my website in the shop. I give you signed copies, so please don't get it from Jeff Bezos and Amazon. There's no advantage to that, and you don't get a signed copy. So
totally. And where can they find that? What's your website?
It's jaysanalysis.com, and you can subscribe to my work there to get access to all the archives and 6 years of lectures and talks.
Awesome, man. Well, geez, I can't tell you how much of an honor and a privilege it's been to have you on, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good night.
Take care. Have a good night. See ya.
Wow, guys, he was amazing.
Oh, dude.
I mean, he knows a ton of about a bunch of stuff that I don't really know that much about.
I had never considered the serial killer aspect.
No, that was
That
amazing.
was like
I've been
way
hearing
red
that a
pilling me
lot,
for
really.
listening to his interview, a couple of his interviews just over the last day or so, and like having that planted in my mind, and then him touching on it more. I really want to hear what else he's uncovered
Well, and Jason
about it.
Bermas, when we interviewed him, he was talking about there's that new podcast. I forget what it's
Something
called.
in the
but-
Clown.
Yeah,
What was
the-
it?
Oh, I wrote
Yeah,
that
yeah,
down.
and he was talking about Ed Gein and like how he's tied into this whole network and stuff, and so I think it's something that's kind of on the edge. They're kind of discovering, like this is stuff. They hide this stuff, right? But it comes out eventually. So we're kind of learning right now, and I think it takes people like Jay Dyer, like researching into it, to really digging into it to let the rest of us know,
Right.
So
Yeah.
it'll be really interesting to see what he comes up with all that. But I think it's all tied in, man. All these secret societies, all your intelligence agencies, all your serial killers, all your 9/11s, all your
I never even
COVIDs.
crossed my mind. Like my whole rabbit hole of everything I understood about all of this, diabolical shit they've been putting us through our entire life. And I always say, like, everything we know is like a lie, and everything's been, manufactured. And it's all been a psyop. It never even fucking crossed my mind. And that's interesting because that was my focus in school. That was what, that was my interest.
But doesn't it make so much sense though?
Oh,
Once he said it, it was like,
well, I didn't know about the
God.
military thing. How he was saying so many of the serial killers.
Yeah,
I
totally.
didn't know
Certainly,
that.
I didn't know that
studied
either.
these
I didn't
guys.
know that either.
Well,
So,
it's
yeah.
also too like how all these famous what is it like Jimi Hendrix and what's the guy from the Doors? Come
on now.
What's
I
his
can
We
name?
all
see
know
his
his name.
face in
Jim
my
Morrison.
head.
Jim Morrison.
Morrison.
Yeah. All these guys are like military or military families.
Yeah,
That's so prolific. Like all of these,
Sure.
The MK Ultra style, or people that are just initiated into the esoteric Hollywood inner circles. It's all military. You trace it all back military. You look at all the the Harvey Oswalds or whatever, like Lee Harvey Oswald. Yeah. I said the J Harvey Oswald. Sorry, Jay, my bad. No, but all of them, dude.
I just
like
got
Timothy
that.
McVeigh, dude. Like it's all military. Like what the fuck, dude?
It makes
It's all
perfect
tied in.
sense.
Totally.
It makes perfect sense. It's dotting I's and crossing T's. It's just a little avenue that my mind hadn't wandered to yet. Like
Well, you think about it though, perfect though. Like it's like before 9/11. What was the scare? I mean, there might have been the all the cults of the 80s and in the maybe some into the 90s, but before that maybe it was a little before our time too. But since 9/11 it's kind of become these mass shootings and things like that. But they always have this fear that's out there,
Well, plus
and
the
it's
mass-
always. But we're watching these mass shootings and I'm going, that's fucking bullshit.
And it's
Half the
agenda.
time. It's totally agenda.
Agenda.
Totally.
And then it's crisis actors.
Oh yeah.
Of the one that we don't speak of
Yeah,
in
the one-
particular.
because,
Is
yeah.
that what we can talk about later
Well,
for our bonus?
we can do that. We can do that.
Okay.
We can do that
Okay,
because
okay.
that's like Jay's friend, our friend AJ, right?
Yeah.
That's what he got in big trouble.
Who?
Alex got into big trouble over that one.
Oh, did? Oh, yeah,
that's
you
that's
told
the
me
big
about
that's
that.
the main thing. That's the main thing that they used against him anyway. And even though he's wasn't even guilty of what they're accusing him of, you know what I mean? But
Right.
it's just like holy shit, and it's like I don't know. You look at some of those pictures, you look at some of that footage, and it's like I don't know. Something's a little creepy here.
Yeah.
I'd say Alex was more right than he was wrong on certain things.
That is for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Even though now he has to come out all the time and say, oh yeah, I was wrong. It's like I know.
Why?
I know.
So he does come out and say
He says he was wrong about some things, but I think he's just like, dude, he's been under attack.
that
like,
just makes you
so
wonder
bad.
why would the anger be so high
It's
over
so
like
bad.
that's just it. Like when they make the anger or like the outrage so high over anyone even questioning
Yeah.
anything, to me it's like
That's it.
to me like that's proof of like they're trying to silence the truth so hard. And it's like nowadays it's interesting because everything's like fact checked. It doesn't make like how you guys know how obscene that's gotten. Like it's so crazy. And so
Yeah.
anytime I even see that, I'm like, okay, that's a verified truth.
Totally,
like that's
totally.
and I'm like someone who should be doing research. And I'm like, I don't even have to fucking research anymore because
They just verified
the
it for
fact
me.
checkers just told me that what I just posted is straight truth by them trying to tell me that this is not factually
Well,
accurate.
how
Our
many times
independent
you
fact
find
checkers.
the fact checker, and it's just like they point out this one tiny little detail, which pretty much just admits that everything else about it is exactly right. Normally, even the detail that they are saying something about is just like, oh, it's slightly different than what they said, right? Like that's kind of what a fact checker is. But it's funny just you mentioned that though, like just it's how you said it. It's like the fact checkers now with the fact checkers, like fact checking just started like 6 months ago.
Like a year, yeah.
Right at the beginning of the year. Right at
I
about
think it
2
was
weeks
the
to flatten the
summer.
curve, I
think
reckon.
It was about the summer. I think it was the summer. Like we are so used to it now. It's just such a thing. Like we're so used to it. Like this is how this stuff happens. This is a part of that agenda, the fact checking, right? Like it's totally obviously a part of this agenda. Like, and it's just we're so used to it. People are just like accept it now.
Well, I don't remember the full meme, but just to show you like how ridiculous it is, there was a meme that was going around. I probably reposted it on my Instagram, but it was something about the whole Dr. Seuss bullshit that's going on.
What the fuck?
And it said, something about like, Joe Biden killed Dr. Seuss, something, and it was immediate within seconds. I was fact checked, and I was like, what?
Oh, of course,
what did they say?
You gotta read the bullshit.
What did they say? And then it says Joe Biden, and in big NOT caps, Joe Biden did not kill Dr. Seuss. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So he did, Ben.
Oh
Yep. So he did. So
that's got to be one of the most ridiculous things though ever. Like if we want to,
I want to paint I want to put Cat in the Hat on the
yeah.
side of my house, and I want to have it say mother, father, sister, brother.
Is that what I don't even know.
That's
I tried
what
to.
That's
the issue is?
That's what I heard.
Okay, I don't even know, dude. Well, is it racist?
Their cancel culture is trying to cancel.
So which
culture.
is it? Is it racist or is it what do you even call that? The mother father thing.
You call it inversion.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. This whole cancel culture movement, this whole like trying to like completely make everybody to be like we're an asexual race.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing is so completely diabolical.
It's like the Goobacks.
What is it?
The Goobacks.
What is
on
that?
South Park, right?
I've only ever seen like one little piece that you showed me once. What are
I think that was the episode.
I would just
Was
like to
that
take
it?
a moment to flip off cancel culture.
Yeah.
Cancel culture, you can just straight fuck off.
Yeah,
every
speaking
piece
of-
of it.
I won't,
Speaking of-
like we're not going to have chest milk. We still have moms and dads.
Yeah, motherfucker. Speaking
yeah.
of cancel culture, one of our good friends, another one bites the dust, dude. Jamie Deluxe, the great Jamie Deluxe.
What happened? They wiped him?
Wiped him out. Took his YouTube channel
No
today.
shit. Today?
Yep. I woke up this morning and in the Union of the Unwanted chat, he did a screenshot from YouTube.
What did he post last? What did he do?
I don't even know, but
It doesn't matter though. When they get you, it's all these things. They grab something from the past. They just
That's what
decide now
Facebook's
is the
coming at
time.
me for. They go in at the past.
And I mean, I've said it before, but Facebook for us is going to be on any day. We've had our 2 strikes. They've already told us they're not
they're giving me 2 strikes today, and I have to dispute it.
They're
and
not.
then they're like, oh, we
they're
were wrong.
not like when people. What do they call it when they suggest? They're not suggesting our page to people anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
that was it. Yeah.
So you guys make sure you go support Jamie Deluxe. I know he's on BitChute. I know he's on Rockfin too. So go check him out on
definitely.
Rockfin. But yeah, here's the letter. It says, "Hi Jamie Deluxe. We have reviewed your content and found severe or repeated violations of our community guidelines. Because of this, we have removed your channel from YouTube. We know this is probably very upsetting, but it's our job to make sure. And I know he just did his 4-year anniversary. He just celebrated 75,000 subscribers.
Oh,
and bam,
shit.
just like that. Bam.
Okay, here's another middle finger for
Another middle
YouTube.
finger. Fuck
YouTube, you can fuck off
You can
too.
fuck off.
Wow.
Come get me, bro. And that's what I told Jamie. I was like, well, your street cred just went through the roof. So it's just
Totally.
like, you know what I mean?
So everything you said was true, and now they've confirmed it.
Yep.
Wow, I had no
So,
idea, man.
Yeah, and he was a big part. You know, he gave us a pretty big boost there just by sharing one of our videos, dude. Like, so much love, much respect. We're gonna have to get him on. We gotta get him
Definitely.
on, dude. 100%.
Yeah, I would
For
love
sure.
that.
100%.
Wow.
Like,
Sorry to hear that, man. What an awful thing.
But you know,
So
it's really
fucking
not though,
frustrating.
because this is where we're all going. Honestly, we should all just leave. Is
Yeah.
the thing. I mean, I know
Yeah.
it's hard because we're a newer podcast and we want to get growth. We want people to see us and whatnot. But YouTube's not helping us with that.
No.
Facebook's not helping us with that. Instagram's not helping us with that.
Yeah.
Like they're all working against us.
yeah.
Like it's just that's where all the
You know,
people
we
are,
can just
right?
use these platforms for the time that we do to divert them to the places where they can find us.
I think that
you
like
know?
90% of people don't know that they exist. I would if I didn't know the two of you, I would never know that those sites exist ever.
Yeah.
I would never even try
I
to
know.
find something.
I
I mean,
know.
you know what I mean? So I think
Well,
the part
hey.
of us being on there is like, I know we're not being suggested, but there is the people like, we have friends who are like, hey, I have friends
Yeah.
who are doing this. And then
Sure.
it's easy for them to know to go find us on YouTube
Yeah.
because then they can listen to us. They'll know that we're
Yeah.
moving to Rockfin. They'll know that we're
Yeah,
getting ready
sure.
to be, booted from Facebook,
Yep.
fucking Facebook.
If you want an uncensored, straight, no algorithm messing with you feed from Truthzilla, go get Telegram and come find us. The address is t.me/Truthzilla pod. That's our new Truthzilla Mind Militia Telegram channel. So we're
T.me?
T.me. That's the
M-E?
little. That's like That's
Okay.
like the shortened little abbreviated address. But find us on there, dude, because we're gonna start posting on there. You know what I mean? I'm gonna start that's gonna be the feed. Like what used to be the Facebook feed where we used to post all our videos and all that stuff and funny memes and stuff. Like I deleted Facebook, so I apologize to all of you out there. You know, I know Ed and Megan are representing still over there, like posting memes and stuff. But if you haven't seen as many memes, it's probably because I just said fuck you Facebook and I deleted it.
I've been memeing up a
and
storm.
so good. So Ed's been carrying the slack. So, but you know what I mean? Like we won't be there. You're gonna wake up one day and we're gonna be gone. You know,
But we won't be gone.
but we won't be gone.
We'll be on Rockfin.
We're gonna be on Rockfin, baby. We're gonna be
I
representing.
look forward to the day when
Yeah.
they kick us off because fuck them.
Yeah, for reals, man. Like Rockfin's been good.
A middle finger to
yeah,
them.
Yeah. Well, we got like we're a little over. I think we're at like 1,100 subscribers on there, and that took like a month and a half or 2 months. Whereas opposed to it's taken like almost what is it 8-9 months we've been doing this on YouTube. It took that long, and it took Jamie Deluxe sharing our video to get like 300 of those. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, what the hell, man? So
Speaking of that video,
yeah.
I feel like that you should plug it again, just because.
Sure. Well, we talked about it a little bit on the episode. You know, it's the 10 stages of genocide, right? So you guys go scroll back a little bit and find it. Maybe I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Like a month. It's been
like
Please
a month.
like and share.
Yeah, like and share it, man.
Please share it.
That's where we're headed.
Like and share.
That's where we're headed. Hopefully, Jesus better come soon, Megan. I'm telling you.
Well, God is still on his throne. I will say that, and I am definitely waiting for Jesus.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of like we're just talking about some of our friends out there in the world, man, and I gotta say, so you guys have heard him on Adam's show, Deborah Gets Red Pilled, Paranoid American. You go to Instagram and check out Paranoid American. Okay.
I keep meaning to subscribe. I'm gonna do that as soon as I get home.
Oh yeah. So I got stuff for you guys. So each one of you guys, I got this right here. So anyway, he's a comic book artist, just a prolific artist in general. Like just scroll back through his feeds. He's just like he just does comic books, but they're all like legit like truth or comic books, dude. It's all like MK Ultra and
This is stuff we were talking about that I could give to my kids.
Yeah, and plus, yeah. So you guys go check out his episodes on Deborah Gets Red Pilled for sure. But like, here you go. Each of you get a little MK Ultra, little conspiracy graphic novel information brochure thingy.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Bam, there you go, Ed. You got one too. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
And then like this is just like the little bonus that he sent us. Look at this. I love this. So there you go. You got Walt Disney with Werner von Braun right there. Bam. And who's the third one? Operation Paperclip. Heinz Haber.
What is it?
Pardon Nazis from Operation Paperclip.
Let me see. Is
Right?
it a photo or is it a postcard?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's just a little. This is a little information thing.
I see.
I love this. You guys, you can check it out. I don't know if you can see this on the screen there. This is Lawrence E. King from the Franklin Scandal. Larry King from the Franklin Scandal. It's a comic book right there, dude. It's great.
God.
It's great. Now check this out. Okay, so then I ordered three editions of time samplers. Okay, time samplers. Kablam, dude. And so they just travel through time, like uncovering conspiracies, man. The art is amazing. Like, and I just love it. I just love
They're
it.
pretty incredible.
It's like the coolest thing ever, man. I can draw pretty good.
Yeah, you can.
But like this would be like a dream come true. Just like make little conspiracy comic books. Like good for you, man. Like, you know, I just love it. It's just so inspiring to like do what you love. Do what you love,
definitely.
man. And it's so badass. I really want to, you know, he's not giving us anything. Like, I just love his stuff so much. I'm just like, I want people to go check him out.
For sure.
So, you know what I mean? It's like, so bam. Awesome. Legit. Also, you know, we got to give some thank yous, man. There's a lot of people showing us a lot of love out there. Like, it seems like the more we've been doing this, like the more messages we get. You know, we get people just saying, man, love what you're doing. And just people from all over the world, literally. Like, it's so inspiring. I love it too. But, you know, there's a few people who've kind of jumped on the truth train here, and I just want to give a couple shout outs too. So Lenore over on Patreon, number 2.
you.
So we got Aaron M, number 1 Patreon subscriber, and Lenore's number 2 Patreon subscriber. So thank you so much. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
PayPal, Alex, you know who you are. You dropped a huge donation. Thank you, man. And then Victoria, welcome, a local. Who's jumped, and she was like messaged us like, oh my god, I didn't know you guys were in Eugene. And so like we got her like in the Freedom Cells, and like she's coming on Sunday, so we'll meet her on Sunday and stuff. So it's super cool. So I'm just really stoked, you know. And so they were donated on the PayPal button on Truthzilla.org, which from my understanding, I guess there's some issues or weird things, like you click on it and it doesn't, I don't know if it's a WordPress thing, probably, but I had to tell both of them, like, I guess the address is hedspec@gmail.com. That's it's like that's one of my personal emails. So there you go. If you feel like donating, whatever, or spam me or flood me, whatever, I don't care. I don't even use that email. But yeah, I guess that's the donation address or whatever. But I'll try and sort that out. But in the meantime, man, I don't know. That's pretty much it. What are you guys thinking?
Man, I think that was a great episode, and it was awesome to have Jay on here. Wealth of information, and yeah.
Everybody, thank you so very much for sitting in with us. That was Jay Dyer. Please go and find him at jaysanalysis.com. Get his book through him so you can get an autographed copy, like he said. Please don't go to Amazon. We want to not support Amazon.
No.
Jeff Bezos. And until next week, everybody, I'm Megan, sitting here with Scott and Ed. We wish all of you intellectual prosperity. Good night.
Pew, 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 pew.
Pew. Ding.
All right.